Welcome! This is Recycling Habits, a podcast series that looks at recycling and its benefits. Recycling Habits is produced by Sustainable Mexico and its partners with Mexico Fuerte and Maria Martinez Recording Studio. Hi, this is Patricia Enriquez Lopez. I've lived in the city of Monterrey for the past 18 years, basically my whole life. I've watched the increasing amount of pollution in the city notoriously. As for someone who started living in her early life in a relatively small city, pollution has really changed the quality of life for me ever since Monterrey grew. And as more people move into Monterrey from other cities in the world, more the people who start seeing pollution as uncomfortable and obnoxious result of our inconvenient lifestyle. The city of Monterrey has been industrially growing for the past 20 years nonstop, making it one of the biggest and most important places in the whole Mexican country. There are thousands and millions of benefits with having a city like Monterrey growing with new companies and industries, but there's also some disadvantages. Ever since the city started growing, pollution has been really present. Mexico is not really well known for having citizens who tend to practice recycling, making it extremely difficult for the country to have clean air and clean water. The goal of this podcast series is to reveal the benefits of recycling and the ways we can promote it here in Mexico. My goal is to make some sense of the impact that recycling can make if we start practicing it everywhere in the country. In this episode, I want to look at the 3 R's of the environment: reusing, reducing, and recycling. So first, let's talk to Ana Sofía Alba, a student of Tecnológico de Monterrey based in Puebla, Mexico. Puebla, Mexico is one of the eco-friendliest cities in the country. Ana Sofía started working with her community, making compost in order to make the environment better in Puebla. She's in the process of making her practices with Enriquez, a really important recycling organization. She will talk about her point of view on recycling, whether it's important or not, what are its consequences if we don't practice it, and what can be done to promote it.
Pues para mí el reciclaje es algo sumamente importante para el buen cuidado de nuestro planeta, porque en realidad la mayoría de los desechos que acaban en nuestros ríos o nuestros lagos son materiales reciclables que al juntarlos con otros desechos se convierten en basura. Entonces el hecho de reciclar, aparte de que genera menos CO2 y reduce las lluvias ácidas, también reduce el efecto invernadero y genera empleos.
In this fragment from the interview I made with her, she talks about how recycling is extremely important for the good care of our planet. In fact, she also mentions that most of the waste that ends up in our rivers and our lakes are recyclable materials, that when mixed together with other wastes, it becomes trash. Recycling, apart from generating less CO2 and reducing acid rain, also reduces the greenhouse effect and generates lots of jobs.
Nuevo León es un estado que genera mucha basura.
In her interview, she also gave her opinion about the state of Nuevo León and what could be done in order to make the environment a bit better. She said that the state of Nuevo León is a state that generates a lot of garbage. So she thinks what they should do is raise awareness among citizens with explicit campaign, not just any recycling campaign. A very explicit one explaining how parks, rivers, mountains, climate, rain would end if they don't recycle. She explains how this would make people realize how much damage they're doing to their planet by not recycling. She thinks that would be the best option, but another option she thinks would be creating a campaign at schools to teach students since an early age how to recycle. Students could learn a tactic to make it easier to recycle in the future. And last but not least, she thinks this one would be a bit complicated, but monitoring the garbage system of the state of Nuevo León would be a very good idea. Because in reality, you can recycle, but the people who collect the garbage end up putting it together and mixing it again with the trash. And that makes the recycling separation work useless. When asked about why does she think recycling is not as popular in Mexico as in other countries, she said she thinks there are three main reasons why recycling is not so popular. One, because Mexicans did not grow up with that culture. They grew up with the practice of throwing garbage to the garbage if they ever find some on the floor, but not with the act of dividing and separating it into different types of recycling. Recycling is a bit new for Mexicans. It's only been a few years since it was introduced to the country. Mexicans need some time to get used to it. The second one, Mexico does not impose any sanctions. The government does not sanction people who are polluting rivers, lakes, or public spaces. For example, Denmark and Switzerland. They are extremely clean countries. They have a very high sanction for the people who throw any kind of trash to the street or any public places. By putting in some kind of monetary sanction, it generates more awareness to the people. That is something that Mexico does not have. People are not very aware of recycling because the government does not put any kind of sanction. The last one. The garbage system that Mexico has is very, very bad. If they recycle something, at the end, it will most likely end up mixed with other trash that is in fact not recyclable. Now, we will talk about Guadalupe Núñez's interview to see her opinion on this topic. In her interview, she said Mexicans would recycle more if they were awarded for doing so. She has seen that in some other countries, mainly in Europe, get awarded with public transportation tickets, fruits, or simply just get sanctioned for not doing so. She thinks that Mexico, a developing country, has to focus on bigger problems now. She thinks that there are many more problems that are worse than recycling happening now in Mexico, such as insecurity, economic crisis, corruption, etc. Countries who are very well known for their perfect recycling systems, such as Denmark, well, they already have all of their problems solved. Like insecurity, they basically have no insecurity or basically have no corruption. So they can now focus on recycling, give their full attention on recycling. She believes that Mexico should start focusing more in their actual big problems now. And once they're all solved or nearly solved, start focusing on things like recycling. Last but not least, Beatriz Estrada, who's been starting to create a really big movement with recycling furniture in Monterrey, says that recycling is a really, really important thing that we should all do, but the government hasn't helped us with doing so. They should start broadcasting propaganda on television, newspapers, and social networks in order to make people more aware of the situation and about the benefits of recycling and the consequences if we don't practice it. She thinks that promoting recycling in school is really, really important and essential because kids can teach recycling, the practice of recycling to their families, and will get used to this for the future, so it will be easier for them. To conclude this podcast, recycling is a very important thing that everyone should practice. It has thousands of benefits. One person can make a huge difference. Be the change. Teach your friends and family how to recycle. Make Mexico a better place to live. Together, we could make Mexico an eco-friendly country to save our clean water and air. Help our environment. This podcast was brought to you by Sustainable Mexico. Recycling Habits was produced by me, Carmen Patricia Enriquez Lopez. A special thanks to Ana Sofia Alba, Guadalupe Núñez, and Beatriz Estrada for stepping in with the interviews. Share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. Education and collaboration are our best path of creating a sustainable Mexico.